One ruler built the largest empire in human history. At its peak, it stretched from the Pacific Ocean all the way to Eastern Europe, covering nearly a quarter of all the land on Earth. He did this in roughly 25 years. Along the way, historians estimate he killed more people than the Romans managed to wipe out in 400 years. Most people know the name. Most people know the numbers. What they don't know are the details. The specific, calculated, deeply personal ways he punished anyone who dared stand in his path. That ruler was Genghis Khan, and today we are going through the most terrifying punishments of his reign. Before Genghis Khan was a conqueror, he was a hungry teenager surviving in the wilderness. After his father was poisoned by a rival tribe, his family was cast out of their clan and left to fend for themselves on the Mongolian steppe. Food was scarce. One day, a 14-year-old Genghis caught a fish and brought it back for his family. His older half-brother Bekta snatched it from his hands and ate every last bite, sharing nothing with Genghis, their mother, or their siblings. Genghis did not argue. He picked up his bow, walked up behind Bekta, and shot him dead. This was his first kill. It would be far from his last. His appetite for revenge only grew from there, and it never stopped growing. One of his earliest large-scale acts of punishment was against the Tatars, the tribe responsible for poisoning his father. After crushing their army in battle, he ordered every surviving male to stand next to the axle pin of a wagon wheel, which stood about 90 centimeters off the ground. Any man taller than that pin was executed on the spot. Every adult and teenage male in the tribe was beheaded. Only infants were spared. He was not just defeating an enemy. He was erasing one. But Genghis reserved his most horrific punishments for those who had the nerve to insult him directly. In 1219, a governor named Inalchuq massacred a Mongol trade convoy of 450 men that Genghis had sent in peace. When Genghis sent a second envoy to demand answers, Inalchuq had those men killed too. After a 5-month siege, Mongol forces finally captured him. The punishment was unlike anything the region had ever witnessed. Molten silver was poured directly into his eyes and ears. It instantly destroyed his vision, ruptured his eardrums, and burned through his skull. It was designed to be as slow and agonizing as possible. Otra was then leveled, and its 100,000 inhabitants were put to the sword. When facing fortified cities too large to breach by force, Genghis simply found another way to break them. When he targeted Zhongdu, now modern-day Beijing, the city's walls were enormous. Rather than waste his army trying to climb them, he surrounded the city and cut off all food. The siege dragged on for months. People ran out of supplies. Then they ran out of animals. Then they began eating the dead. Witnesses described mountains of human bones outside the walls and soil so saturated with human fat that it glistened in the sun. Eventually, the city surrendered. Genghis burned it anyway. His cruelty was not limited to the cities he conquered. During his campaigns across Central Asia, he developed a tactic that turned captured civilians into weapons. After seizing the populations of smaller towns, instead of killing them immediately, he forced them to march at the front of his advancing army. Men, women, and children were pushed forward into enemy arrow fire, absorbing the casualties that would otherwise fall on Mongol soldiers. Some were chained to siege equipment and made to push it toward fortified walls, while defenders shot at them from above. The Mongols lost almost no men. The prisoners lost everything. Nothing, however, prepared the ancient world for what happened at Nishapur in 1221. The city, in present-day Iran, had killed his favorite son-in-law Tukachar with an arrow during a siege. When his daughter learned of her husband's death, she made one demand. Every living thing in the city had to die. Every person, every animal, even the cats and dogs. Genghis sent one message to his son Tolui: grant her wish. Over 10 days, the Mongol army executed the entire population. Some historians estimate 1.7 million people were killed. To ensure no wounded survived, every body was beheaded. The skulls were then arranged into 3 separate pyramids, one for men, one for women, one for children. The city was torn down so completely and so deliberately that it took centuries for the region to recover. After defeating a large Russian force at the Battle of the Kalka River in 1223, Genghis faced an unusual constraint. Mongol tradition held that noble prisoners could not be executed with their blood touching the ground. This was considered dishonorable. So he devised a solution that satisfied the tradition while making the punishment far worse. The captured Russian nobles were stripped, bound, and laid flat on the earth. A large wooden platform was built directly on top of them. Genghis and his generals then sat on the platform and held a victory feast, eating, drinking, and celebrating, while the men beneath them were slowly crushed and suffocated. Not a single drop of blood touched the ground. Genghis considered this the honorable approach. When the Tanguts of Xi refused to send troops for his Khwarezmian campaign, Genghis responded with something beyond punishment. He responded with erasure. In 1226, he launched a campaign with 180,000 soldiers. City after city fell. When it was over, he ordered the execution of the entire Tangut royal family. Their records were destroyed, their architecture torn down, their history wiped clean. He did not want to defeat them. He wanted future generations to open their history books and find nothing there at all. And even in death, Genghis Khan maintained his control. He died in August 1227 and had given strict orders that his burial site be kept secret from everyone, enemies, allies, and future generations. After his body was carried deep into the forests of Mongolia by a convoy of soldiers and enslaved workers, the workers who dug his grave were killed by the soldiers escorting them. When those soldiers returned, a separate group of Mongol warriors killed them too. Trees were left to grow over the site naturally, undisturbed. No marker was placed. To this day, no one has ever found the tomb of Genghis Khan. He is estimated to have killed between 40 and 60 million people, roughly 10% of the entire world's population at the time. He built the largest empire the world has ever seen, from nothing, and made sure that anyone who crossed him would not just be defeated, but forgotten entirely.